welcome to another episode of Auto Mundial, where this week we're taking a look at a convertible crossover from Volkswagen.
We also have two new muscle cars from Cadillac, as well as a pair of performance SUVs from BMW.
We also check out the latest Audi S6. And we take an in-depth look at the Peugeot 2008 in this week's Deep Drive. That's all coming up. First though, the news.
Some UK drivers are to be given up to £3,000 a year as part of a pilot government scheme to get people out of cars and onto public transport to reduce congestion and pollution. According to a report from The Times, motorists in Coventry with pre-Euro 4 petrol cars built before 2006 and pre-Euro 6 diesels built before 2016 will soon be able to surrender their vehicles in exchange for credits which can be used for public transport, bicycles, e-scooters, taxis and car-sharing schemes. The Coventry City Council approved experiment aims to calculate how much funding would be needed to permanently reduce the number of older cars on the roads. While it does seem strange that the trial is taking place in Coventry, the heart of the British car-making industry, other local councils are considering similar schemes in their future. The timing is questionable, however, with the public still being encouraged to stay indoors and away from public transport.
We love a fast Audi here at Auto Mundial, and while the new fire-breathing RS6 has left our mouths agape, it's the latest S6 that's really caught our attention. Because while it does without the carbon fibre add-ons and bulbous wheel arches, the new S6 has one of the most interesting engines we've seen in a mainstream performance car for a long time. Gone is the evocative V8 of the old car, and in its place sits a V6 TDI. Yep, Audi's most discreet performance car has gone diesel. So is this a game changer, or has Audi completely lost the plot? Well, it's not as quick as the old car. The 0 to 62 time has increased by nearly a second to 5.1 seconds for the Avant, while power is way down at 349 brake horsepower. It does have more torque, but it only lasts for 600 RPM, and while it's definitely not slow, this is now a very expensive performance saloon or estate that will struggle to keep up with many modern hot hatchbacks. So what's Audi's thinking behind this new, slower S6? Well, it comes down to two things, first of which is emissions. The old V8 car pumped out a lot of CO2, but this new 3-litre car is much greener. Audi needed to cut down its average CO2 figure, so the low-volume, high-pollution S6 was an obvious martyr. Secondly, Audi wanted to boost sales of the more expensive RS6. The old S and RS cars shared the same engine with different tunes, so expecting customers to pay a huge premium for the Halo car was becoming harder. But putting a diesel V6 in the S car immediately makes the petrol V8 in the RS6 seem a bit more special.
So now we've got all of that out of the way, what is the new S6 actually like to drive? Well, the first thing you notice is the noise. It isn't a loud car. The S6 has always been a serious under-the-radar mile muncher for those who prefer to go unnoticed, but this new one has artificial engine noise pumped in through the speakers. As with many fast Audis, it feels nose-heavy, but the sheer amount of torque on offer means overtaking and powering out of junctions just becomes seriously addictive. Plant your right foot and all of a sudden you're very far away from where you were, as the 8-speed automatic gearbox does a superb job of keeping you in the boost zone. That said, it's not as entertaining as the old petrol motor. It's ghostly quiet though, and extremely good at covering great distances in comfort. As with the rest of the current A6 range, the interior is a wonderful environment in which to travel. There's a real sense of calm inside the S6. The lines are all clean and minimalist, with much of the design borrowed from the A8 limo. The dashboard is dominated by a stylish pair of central screens, one for the infotainment and one for the climate controls. There's a third screen too, the virtual cockpit, which replaces traditional dials with route guidance and digital readouts. The materials on show are great too. Everything you touch feels expensive, and it makes you feel more special than an equivalent 5 Series.
So is the new S6 a disappointment? Well, from an enthusiast perspective, yes. The big V8 was the life and soul of the old car, with great performance and a terrific noise. The new diesel just can't deliver the same excitement. However, this is still a hugely impressive car. The way it builds and holds onto its pace is admirable, and we love that it still doesn't shout about its status. It's as subtle as ever, and with a diesel power plant and 48-volt mild hybrid system, it's much more economical too. If anything though, it makes us want the new RS6 even more.
In days gone by, most 4x4s were convertibles. Early Land Rovers, Jeeps and Land Cruisers all had fabric roofs to save money. Then, a few years ago, Land Rover gave us the Evoque convertible, a luxurious bathtub on wheels that achieved predictably poor sales. That has not put off Volkswagen though, as it boldly releases this, the T-RoC Cabriolet. Nope, we're not sure why this has happened either, but it is about half the price of the other convertible 4x4, the completely different Jeep Wrangler. But this new body style does further diversify the popular little T-RoC. We've already seen the superb R version, while the regular car has quickly become a common sight on the roads. And VW has a long history of hugely successful cabrios, with the Beetle, Carman Ghia and Golf all selling well. But where those were simply soft-top versions of existing cars, Volkswagen has had to do a little more engineering with this T-RoC. From the front wheel arches back, every panel has grown, with the wheelbase extending by 40mm compared to the hardtop car. The rear doors have been removed, while the roof mechanism means the rear bench is narrower, making it a 4-seater rather than a 5. And without a proper roof, rigidity normally takes a significant hit in convertibles. To try and combat that, VW has strengthened the chassis with new crossbeams, while the A-pillars have also been beefed up to protect occupants in the event of a rollover. The roof is available in fabric only, with no fancy folding metal system like you've got on the old EOS. It goes up or down in 9 seconds at speeds of up to 19 miles per hour. Otherwise, it's a standard T-RoC. It gets either a 1-litre 3-cylinder engine or a more powerful 1.5 with 148 brake horsepower. The cabin remains as funky as ever, with body colour bits and nice infotainment. Maybe, just maybe, the T-RoC Cabriolet will catch on, but we can't see many more manufacturers rushing to take a can opener to their latest crossovers.
And now a review of Peugeot's chicest SUV, the 2008.
There are so many small SUVs around these days that choosing between them can feel like an impossible decision. They all tend to cost about the same, have similar running costs, and come with most of the equipment that you want in a new car. But there is one way that car makers can be sure to get your attention: style. Why would you buy a new Peugeot 2008? Well, it's all about the way it looks.
Peugeot is a French brand, and they want to bring their national sense of style right to the heart of its cars. I mean, look at these headlights. It's hard to mistake this for any other car. I mean, it's designed to look like the lion on the Peugeot badge has gone row right up the front. And then you've also got the same at the back. You've got the massive grille at the front, a flat front as well. These 18-inch alloy wheels that are part of the GT line.
This car is a GT line version and has a reversing camera, heated front seats, a 10-inch infotainment display, sat-nav, LED headlights and wireless phone charging. You can connect to Android Auto and Apple CarPlay no matter which model you choose though. Even the basic version has it. Plus 16-inch alloy wheels and air conditioning. There's more kit as you go up the range, like bigger wheels, part leather seats, climate control and parking sensors.
Join us again after the break for part 2 of our Peugeot 2008 review, plus a pair of new muscle cars from Cadillac. Coming up, the Cadillac CT4V Blackwing. But first, part 2 of our Peugeot 2008 Deep Drive.
Now, the unique driving position does take some getting used to because it does feel like the wheel is sat on your lap. And because the steering wheel is so small, it only takes a bit of movement to make a big turn, which does make the bends feel quite lively on this. But most people who are going to buy a small SUV don't really care about handling that much, as long as it's a nice, safe, predictable car to drive. So we won't dwell on that much, but it's much more important to know that this is a comfy drive. If you're doing a long journey on the motorway, then you won't get too tired. And if you do a lot of miles, you can get the 1.5 litre diesel. Well, most people can probably ignore that option though, because this 1.2 litre petrol gives you everything you need really, and it's surprisingly economical. It's got about 130 horsepower, which is more than enough. Actually quite a nippy little engine. Now there's even the electric version called the E9-21, which will do up to 200 miles on a single charge, which is about normal for a car this size. And if you're doing a short commute and you really want to drastically cut down your running costs, it's definitely worth considering.
The 2008 really stands out, especially in this bright orange metallic paint. We love the stylish headlights and they're great at night. The materials inside the 2008 are great and we love the design of the dashboard too. There's lots of room in the back, so you shouldn't have an issue with fast-growing kids getting cramped. You might be initially wowed by this touchscreen, but it soon starts to get frustrating fiddling with the climate controls. The rear seats in the 2008 don't slide back and forth, so you can't extend the boot like you can in the Renault Captur. The biggest thorn in the 2008 side is the Renault Captur, because we think it looks nearly as good and costs less and is more practical.
Today, performance SUVs are commonplace on roads worldwide as manufacturers blend the speed of a sports car with the practicality and road presence of a utility vehicle. These cars are often seriously quick in both acceleration and top speed, as well as featuring luxurious interiors with leather, carbon fibre and aluminium everywhere. They're also alarmingly expensive. The Porsche Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid starts at over £120,000, while the Lamborghini Urus is over 30 grand more. But at a comparatively cheap £113,000 and £115,000, there are two new models from BMW that seem like the bargain of the performance SUV category. The models in question are these: the BMW X5M Competition and its fastbackers, and the BMW X6M Competition. They feature the same platform, and aside from looking a little different, they can be viewed as one. Both are propelled by a 625 brake horsepower V8, which is good enough for 750 Nm of torque and 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds. Equipped with two twin-scroll turbochargers, this is the most powerful engine BMW has ever put in a road car. This behemoth of an engine is connected to the 8-speed driving all four wheels. On the styling front, there is the familiar BMW kidney grille that seems to relentlessly swell with each generation, and dual vertical bars which are specific to M variants. At the bottom, there is a huge frontal cooling area to keep the power plant from bursting through the bonnet. The M-specific 21-inch wheels sit in front of some enormous new brakes, and the side profile features special vents and M-door mirrors, while at the back there's a spoiler and some naughty exhausts. Inside, there's plenty of carbon fibre on the centre console and the dash, and lots of reminders that you're in an M car. So what's it like to drive? Well, for a car of this stature and size, the ride is relatively firm compared to others in the class, even in the most relaxed of driving modes. This is to help with the handling, which incidentally is excellent for a vehicle the size of a bungalow. The gearbox works flawlessly in the background, the steering is light, and the road noise is very minimal.
Overall then, the BMW X5M and X6M competition models seem like good buys, but what are the other options? The VW Group has a few up its sleeve: the Audi RS Q8, the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S, Bentley Bentayga and the Lamborghini Urus. The Audi, Porsche and Lambo all feature the same 4-litre twin-turbo V8, while the Bentley has a monstrous twin-turbo 6-litre W12. We've compared these VW Group offerings previously on Auto Mundial, and the Porsche and Audi were on top for their practical nature and relatively sensible price tags. But what about elsewhere? The Range Rover Sport SVR seems like a good choice. It's cheaper than the others, but it is the most powerful Land Rover ever built, with 542 brake horsepower from its 5-litre V8, and it also gets the added bonus of some real off-road capability. On the road too, the SVR drives well thanks to returned and firmed up suspension, achieving a balance of ride comfort and handling that's as good as anything else in this class. It's also good value at just under 100 grand, and we think it's among the best looking SUVs out there.
None of these cars are a sensible purchase, so you may as well make the decision with your heart. And if you're doing that, the Range Rover is tough to beat.
While you may imagine that any good American muscle car needs some lurid paintwork and a big V8, Cadillac is aiming to prove otherwise with this, the new CT4V BLACKWING. The hottest version of Caddy's handsome compact saloon, the BLACKWING is the USA's answer to the Mercedes C63 and the BMW M3. What makes this different from most muscle cars, though, is what's hiding under the bonnet. Muscle car devotees may recoil in horror when they count the cylinders and find it lacking a pair. But this twin turbocharged 3.6-litre V6 puts out a healthy 472 horsepower, 8 more than the regular CT4V. It still gets the same 6-speed manual gearbox with the option of a 10-speed automatic in place of the regular 8-speed box. To keep the Caddy keen in the corners, the chassis has also had a few tweaks to help it live up to its new BLACKWING name. The Brembo brakes have been beefed up front and rear, and the new wheels are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres. It's been on a diet too, shedding 35 kilograms from the standard car. To help it stand out, it gets lots of carbon fibre goodies. There are various vents dotted around and a purposeful looking rear spoiler and diffuser setup with 4 aggressive tailpipes. The outcome of all of these modifications is 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds and a top speed of 189 miles per hour.
However, the CT4 isn't the only Cadillac to have been given the BLACKWING treatment. This is its big brother, the CT5V BLACKWING, and it doesn't simply make do with a turboed V6. Oh no, this is old school. A genuine rival for the likes of the BMW M5 and Audi RS6, the CT5V gets an almighty 6.2-litre V8 with a supercharger bolted on for good measure. The result is 695 brake horsepower, making this the most powerful production car Cadillac has ever built. All that power is sent to the rear wheels via an electronic limited slip differential. 0 to 60 is quoted at 3.7 seconds, while top speed is said to be over 200 miles per hour. Best of all, though, it's a manual, something which sadly can no longer be said of its European competition. Of course, there is an automatic option that would arguably suit this executive saloon better, but a new car with a manual gearbox and a V8 with almost 700 horsepower is a joyous creation indeed. Like its smaller stablemate, the CT5 has received a number of upgrades to ensure it's as good at corners as it is at quarter miles, with new wheels and tyres and optional carbon ceramic brakes.
Sadly, neither of these glorious super saloons will make it over to the UK. But American buyers can save plenty of cash choosing one of these over any equivalent BMWs or Mercedes.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we preview Gordon Murray's incredible tribute to an F1 legend, the T50 S Lauda.